Welcome to today's episode where we dive into the political circus of American politics. First up, Tim Walz, the Democrat VP nominee, who's been accused of stolen valor because apparently serving in the National Guard isn't enough when you can just claim to be a hero instead. Then there's Gavin Newsom, still trying to tackle California's homelessness crisis, as if he thinks the problem would just get bored and go home, as in bus tickets to get out of town. Yes, true story. And let's not forget Kamala Harris, who's turned dodging the media into an art form. She could probably win a gold medal in the political hide and seek championships. Buckle up, my friends. It's going to be a fun but bumpy ride. Hello, everybody. This is William del Pilar, and this is Fired Up. Thank you for tuning in. Do not forget to hit the like and share button. But first of all, let's welcome our two guests right now. We're waiting on a third, but I want to introduce to you Roxanne Hoge, a beautiful activist and actress, and Jimmy McPhee, our NFL Blindside Blitz podcaster, who's a political junkie too. Roxanne, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Roxanne Hoge, as you said. My acting name is Roxanne Beckford. I'm just a mom in a minivan who a few years ago really got ticked off at the plastic grocery store bag ban because that just made life harder for all of us who, feed families. And I started my little looking down the rabbit hole and going down the rabbit hole of politics. And so now here I am. I'm a member of the Los Angeles County Republican Party, a California GOP delegate. As such, I appear on Fox News every couple of weeks and try to update life from behind the blue curtain. And I'm directing communications and marketing here in Los Angeles, in the home of the largest Republican Central Committee in the country.
There you go. And we have the beautiful Miss Annette Ross. And a thank you to G. Mangani from last week for referring her to me. Annette, if you can, please tell us a little bit about yourself.
I need to know that I will. I'd love to. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Absolutely. Loud and clear.
Oh my gosh, Roxanne, I just had the most technical difficulties you cannot imagine. Okay. Hi, thank you for having me. I am currently Rancho Santa Fe School Board President. I am also seeking re-election coming this fall, author of the book Where Fairy Tales Go, which is a memoir. I'm an advocate for those with disabilities, and I speak around the country talking to medical students about disparities in healthcare for people with disabilities. I've been doing that for several years now. I was a producer of a documentary called Stronger Than Fate. And I was also in a more recent documentary on HBO called Any One of Us, and that was done by Red Bull Media House. And in my former life, before I became a mother of 5 daughters, I was on the trading floor, the old days, open outcry, using hand signals for Morgan Stanley and the foreign exchange pits. And that was honestly a very different life. And it feels like a very long time ago now, but we have 5 daughters. I think I told you, William, when we sort of talked on the phone, that when giving birth to my second daughter, I had a spinal cord injury because the doctor was on fentanyl. And when she gave me the epidural, it burned my spinal cord. And I didn't walk after that. And I've used a wheelchair ever since. And I had 3 more beautiful girls, though, and got through a very traumatic and difficult. That's what I wrote my memoir about. But I do all kinds of writing for all kinds of people. So, yeah.
Outstanding. And Jimmy, before we get to you, this is Roxanne's social media account. I'm still new at this. I'm going to keep saying this 5 years from now. I'm still new at this when I forget to do things. But that's at Roxanne Hoge. And
you can Hogue. Sorry, Hogue like rogue, but that's okay.
Oh, you should have heard the Democrats go crazy when I mispronounced the Democrat candidates for the 50th congressional seat because I'm Latino. I said it with the J, But so Jimmy is our Blindside Blitz guy. Tell us a bit about yourself, Jimmy.
That's right. Oh my God. I love football. You know what I mean? So I live, breathe it. I've coached flag teams before. Joe and I break it down every single Tuesday night here on Grumblings Media. We're happy to be part of Grumblings Media. When we found out about the company, very excited to join them. I've been always so outspoken. I speak my mind, pretty much no filter, but I do have respect for other people and their opinions on the same aspect though as well. So when I feel strongly about something, I'm going to talk to you about it, and we're going to have a good real conversations about it too as well.
Outstanding. We got a comment already. Hey, that's pretty
All
good.
right.
G-Man. Of course, we know who G-Man is. Can't wait for tonight's show. Hey, guys, I got to admit, I've only been doing this in the panel format for a few weeks, but I love it. It just takes so much pressure off of me,
Right.
As you saw in my notes, I do a lot of research. That's a lot of talking. And as big a windbag as I am, that's an hour's a lot to fill. So thank you for coming in. We're going to talk about Tim Walz. We're going to get going with him first. And I called this segment The Man, the Myth, the Misleading Military Memoir, the War Hero Who Never Went to War. So first of all, Tim Walz is the VP nominee. He was born in 1964, guys, and I was born in 1966. And I'm like, thank God for my genes, because I thought he was in his early 70s when I looked at him. I want to start off with a video here. The comments. We're going to talk about the stolen valor. That's a big campaign strategy point that many people may not realize, because I think only about 5% of Americans actually serve. It's not good or bad, just a fact. So we'll start out with this video here.
If you did 5 weeks ago and Dad said, Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and Dad said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Where I carried in war. Now, I'm sorry, I tend to be hogging the camera right now, but to explain that is what happens in the military when people try to pretend there's something they're not. That's how they say it. They say it in passing, so you're left with the thought process of, oh, he went to war, and that's his operation. That's it, the way he operates. So let's start with Annette. When it comes to this stolen valor, how big a deal is this in your mind as a, and I apologize, did any of you all serve? I don't want to assume. Okay. so as a civilian.
I saw Top Gun several times.
If you add, you stayed at a Holiday Inn, I'll believe you.
That's the one, the first and the second one, right? How often does the second one live up to the first?
Yeah.
There you go. So Annette, as a civilian, when you hear something like this, does it even bother you, that type of statement?
Well, it does bother me for the people that have served, like my brother. He served in the Army. And I think it feels very insulting to those people. I think the thing about it for me is that, and what makes it a little bit more of an even playing field where this doesn't affect them as much as maybe it should, is because you do get politicians who lie. I mean, that's not an uncommon thing, unfortunately. They exaggerate the things that they've done. They try to make themselves appear better, and they try to make themselves look like they've either served the country or they didn't run from war, and the things that he's done just to sort of puff himself up and to get him. And some people just believe it. They don't really look into the background. And so we know that his service, he exaggerated and out sometimes actually lied about it. And that's a problem. But does it bother me? It bothers me that integrity is not in our politics anymore. And it's not even really an expectation. That's what bothers me about it. I would think that it's very insulting for people that have served in our military. And I feel badly about it from that point of view more than anything else. But I also wish now we could start to actually have a real conversation that we should have honesty and integrity in our political discourse. And that should be the expectation. People get away with it across the board. They're constantly lying. Now the onus is on all of us to try to do the fact checking. So when my daughter, who is a Democrat in New York, and she's the only Democrat I think I have, but I do have one out there, and we have arguments about this, and she believes what she hears. And I say, you know what? You're going to have to do a little more research. You're going to have to dig a little deeper, and you're going to find out what you're hearing isn't necessarily the truth. And she'll say, but didn't the other side lie about this? And sometimes, unfortunately, that is true too. So I'd love to know, and I know it's a little bit off topic, but I do think we need to change that. I do think we need to demand honesty and integrity from our politicians who are representing us, and that they're going to tell us the truth, and someone's going to look into it and be able to speak it and talk about it.
Gotcha. Roxanne,
Mhm.
before we go to you, I want to
Me.
hear Jimmy's take as a man. Jimmy does Jimmy does a blue collar job. He's a man's man. And
That's
honestly,
right.
from that perspective, when you hear somebody who's lying like this, what's your take on it?
Again, the same thing as Annette had said. I have family members in the military too. My brother-in-law is a colonel. He's very high up in ranks. He's served his time. He met his wife in it was the Gulf War. So they've been there for a long time, and I show respect to them. Everybody should, and they know what they've been through. And when somebody does something like this again and exploits it, I mean, they tell you too. Like I've gotten hand-me-downs, like different things that he gets too, like some of the things, the BVDs and things that they wear to when they run and all kinds of stuff.
Mhm.
And you got, it's that respect too. Like if you get one of those uniforms, you don't wear the badges. They have all those tear-offs and stuff like that. You don't wear them because that's respect. That's something that somebody earned. You get that and stuff like that. So you don't ever put things like that on. You might wear the uniform in a sense, just wear it because you like it, camo or whatever, but you don't do something like that. And as far as him protecting the Second Amendment and all this other stuff, and then being out there and then also saying we're going to be able to, remove these weapons from people because I use them for war. Now people, with their intentions to do harm here. We're talking about a side that has basically tried to force everybody into believing what they are and what they believe, or else. So now they're trying to remove weapons from you or anything that you had that might be any kind of thing that would be against of what they say. We've seen it. They tried to imprison people for doing things that was not on their agenda.
Right. Give it to an upstate New Yorker to bring up the Second Amendment.
Right.
So different from the city itself.
Right. We're different up here, and we just don't ever get a voice.
Yeah, and in reference to what Jimmy said, there's some social media posts criticizing him for wearing the cap. Here's the issue with the cap. That's okay. Caps are given as gifts. You represent. It's a way to honor it, to spread the word. But what Jimmy's talking about is like the ribbons. There was one guy some years back who was in a car accident, and when the cops got there, he was in a full-fledged military officer's outfit. He'd been going to bars, just got off of work, with the outfit on to pick ladies up. Yes, it is true. An officer and a gentleman the officer does attract the ladies. So, Roxanne, I wanted to go to you last for the political perspective. How should the Republican Party deal with this? To me, it's a campaign tactic. I don't care how sensitive it is. That's a campaign tactic you take to the military when you're talking. Am I looking at it wrongly, differently, or is there a better angle here?
So I like to look at everything from the 30,000 foot view, right? And the bigger picture here, and both Annette and Jimmy are, of course, absolutely right. The bigger picture is they are trying to sell us a bleep sandwich and tell us it's the best steak ever. Everything about this campaign, from Kamala to Walz, is inauthentic. They are actually him claiming to be having been in country and in combat and carrying a weapon of war. He is a low rent Wallace Shawn. The man, you can tell a military person, male or female, when they stand up and they stand straight, and you go, just like you can peg someone who's been a dancer, right? As a mom of girls as well. But the fact is, you look at this guy, and I do not get former military vibes. I do not get good vibes at all, but they are selling him as a military guy, stand-up everyman. They're even trying to sell him as the sexiest thing alive, a guy who you'd rather have him change your tire. The official campaign thing was the other day was, would you rather have J.D. Vance or Tim Walz change your tire? The only thing Tim Walz is doing is calling AAA. I can do that myself. I don't doubt that he carried a lot of military issue MREs, and he packed them all on before he left wherever he was stationed. Because you're right, the guy looks like crap. I'm born in 1965. He could be Kamala's grandpa. And the bigger picture is that they are selling us a completely inauthentic, joyous campaign that is anything but. It is socialism and Marxism wrapped up in a folksy, joyous package.
It's
Yeah.
if they view him as handsome, then just call me Sean Connery, and I'm modest. I'm actually modest, But I had 3 bits. I just want to, because we beat this one to death really quick, in terms of what we think. But I do want to show this one because there's no way you can misconstrue him making these type of statements with this one. It's a flat out lie. It's not quite stolen valor, but it's just as bad.
Congressional district. I'm Tim Walz, and I'm running for Congress in Minnesota's 1st congressional district. I'm a retired command sergeant major. I spent 24 years in the Army National Guard. I spent the better part of 2 decades as a public school teacher. I'm a small business owner, I'm a father, and I'm a husband. I intend to come here to Washington to provide authentic leadership.
Authentic leadership. Now, what you all may not, or probably likely don't understand, because people in the military don't even understand this. The enlisted rank goes from E1 to E9, and then the ultimate is the command sergeant major. Each armed forces has it, and that command sergeant major is in charge of the whole base. It's more of a political type position, PR type, meaning you're supposed to interact, make sure any major problems. So there's very few command sergeant majors in the military, period. I mean, there's for every 100 sergeant majors you have maybe 4, maybe 3 to 5 command sergeant majors. And that's a blatant lie. He did not finish his training that would have qualified it. And that's common. There's a lot of programs where you're going to get this rank if you complete this program. And if you don't complete the program, you don't get the rank. It's pretty much cut and dry. So I'm not sure what I'm asking you guys to comment, but I'm gonna give you the mic because like I said, we kind of beat it. But I just wanted the audience to see that because there is no way around it. Jimmy, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I have a brother-in-law that has gone through all the rankings. I've heard it every time, and I've actually been to a couple of his when he's got it promoted, his promotions and things like that. So I know how much that means and what that truly is. As far as being truthful and all this other stuff, the guy that can change your tire. I mean, it's been quoted that his wife, I think when the city of Minneapolis was burning, she opened the windows and kept them open just long enough so she could really breathe in the tire smoke, the tires burning, and just wanted to soak up the moment. I mean, this is the type of family and people that we're dealing with here. So it's pretty extremism on, the left. And right now they're selling you lies. Like Roxana had said, this whole campaign, since she jumped on, it's been like a total turnaround of what she stood for the last 20 years and what he has stood for. So, and people just don't care. People I talk to that's up here in the upstate New York that are on the other side, they're just, like she said as well, they're believing whatever, story comes out on social media, whatever, and they're following right along with it. And without any kind of thought as well into this and looking into what this guy truly stands for.
Roxanne, do you think Trump will be able to stick to the actual point? This is the biggest one. Or do you think he's just going to be Trump and kind of convoluted on? The reason I ask is I think if you stick to one of these stolen valor points, this one being the most egregious in terms of they have it in black and white would be the best bet. Do you think he has the capacity to do that?
I think Donald Trump has a capacity to do anything. Right. The fact is, the man was a non-politician and he became president. He broke through and decimated a field of an incredibly deep bench that the Republicans had in 2015. Mm-hmm. And then he took down the woman who had like a 90% chance of winning. She was inevitable, right? They had the glass ceiling balloons already at the Javits Center for her coronation. So do not underestimate Donald Trump. It took, the release of the China virus and the unbelievable lockdowns that were instituted by blue state governors and localities in order to crush him, and an able assist from Paul Ryan and the rhinos in the swamp. So let's not think that me and my minivan has anything to say to Donald Trump that he needs to hear. And the important thing to stick to is not it. It doesn't matter who Tim Walz is and what he's lied about. It doesn't even matter that Kamala is always either drunk or high or both, in addition to being stupid. or that Joe Biden is basically Weekend at Bernie's. Who even knows if he's still alive today? The fact is, and Vivek Ramaswamy said that this the other day, many other people have said it, I'm not the first. We're running against a system that wants to destroy the greatest country, the greatest experiment on God's green earth that gave people their individual freedom and liberty. Look at what is happening in England, land of my forefathers. I'm an immigrant from a Commonwealth country. They will come to your home and remove you for retweeting something they don't like. Let's not lose sight of the end game.
Right. Annette, I want you to address it from this perspective. What you said about getting back to the truth, that's correct. However, in my eyes, in the year 2000, the mainstream media they came out of the closet and showed their full-blown leftist colors. You want the truth. Do you think the media is going to be able to speak the truth on this stolen valor, or think they're going to bury it?
They're going to bury it for sure. There's no question about the legacy media and what they've been doing all along. And the second that there was a switcheroo, and it was everyone talked about it being a Julius Caesar moment with the hands on the knife, I think, for Nancy Pelosi and Kamala Harris. I mean, and you're right, to your point, Roxanne, where has Biden been? Who is running the country right now? Isn't anyone concerned about that? All we see is Kamala running for president, but I literally do not know in this moment who is in charge. And we have wars happening. We have things breaking out. We have really big foreign policy issues that are happening around the world that I think are honestly really scary if you really take a look at how tenuous it is in these places. But what you said, Roxanne, is so true. It is one big facade. And it is one big cheerful facade filled with lies that the legacy media is totally propping them up, putting on the music, not answering real questions, putting in like the right people to appeal to that college age crowd. I know, because my daughters are saying to me, Mom, they've got this social media influencer. They have this celebrity person that we know who they are. I mean, I don't know who they are, but my kids know who they are. So I'm like, wow, they're being very clever in the way they're packaging and reframing all of this. And so the legacy media doesn't care if it's a bunch of lies. It is a complete and total facade. What you said, Roxanne, is so true. And we're seeing it play out every single day. And can Trump beat it? I agree that I think that he can. I love the Trump post the almost him being assassinated.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
I thank God that he wasn't. That was such a dangerous moment. I think it could have been a civil war, honestly, if he had been assassinated. That was such a scary happening. I do think somehow, by the grace of God, he's okay. But I do feel like he came back with a certain amount of humility that is really important in leadership. Then maybe, I mean, I still think he's very brazen. I still think he's very strong. I still think he can speak the truth. I still think he can be very eloquent and bring not just big ideas, but facts. He needs to bring also examples, not just like big, like this is bad, or this is good, but tell me why. But I think he came back also with a certain humility that I'm finding very appealing. I don't know.
Gotcha.
One thing, I don't want to discourage everybody totally. The legacy media actually has responded, and so has the campaign. They've removed the reference to the command sergeant major on Walz's online bio, and Jake Tapper did push back in a couple interviews in the past 24 hours. So people keep going, should we use this tactic or this tactic? All of them. We should use all of them. And by the way, they're working. Because they're an inch, they're a mile wide and an inch deep. And so just pushing a little bit, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay, according to our legal advisor, no, we are not saying that she is high and drunk. I can imagine. I can imagine.
Come get me.
I tell you, I thought I didn't have a filter, but oh my goodness.
I can imagine during those Willie Brown days. So for the audience out there, we're not going to talk about it. There are China connections starting to come out. They've been out there, and the media is digging into them. And I just want to make the audience aware that acceptance of gifts, student exchange programs subsidized by China. He had Chinese officials at inauguration and a couple of other things. Now, all of that may be innocent. It could actually be innocent. So let's wait for the news to come out. But I want to get to the socialism aspect right now. And I call it socialism because when you use taxpayers' dollars and then you demand we accept certain things, whether we like it or not, And there's certain laws, I mean, technically, but they want us to accept certain beliefs that we do not align with. And I want to talk about that. He had a quote here, and I went around gathering these videos, and I forgot to gather the most important one, where he said, "One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness." Roxanne, real quick, when you hear a politician in these United States of America say that, what goes through your mind, and how do you think we're a different generation? Jimmy's probably the youngest one out of all of us here, but how I grew up, that's a big no-no. What are your thoughts?
I think they've been trying to wrap socialism in the guise of a Christianity. They use Jesus all the time, even though they hate religion, and they certainly hate Jesus and anyone who worships him. They've also been trying to say it's neighborliness. They've even tried roads or socialism. But as someone who emigrated from a country that was dancing and dallying with socialism in the 70s, Jamaica, that's the reason we had a diaspora. The end result is always the same. It may sound nice that we all, from each according to his need, ability to each according to his need, but it always necessarily ends in mass death, famine, and mobs coming after you to kill you, take your stuff, and rape your women. End of story.
Right. Right. And real quick, Jesus never said to take someone else's hard-earned bounties to give them away to somebody else. He never said that. And most conservatives forget that's the comeback you come with, because that's a simple truth. Annette, let's get to you on an issue that Mr. Walz dealt with in Minnesota that we've also been fighting here. That's a gas tax. He proposed a 20-cent per gallon increase in the gas tax to fund infrastructure. And to me, that's as progressive as it can get. We're dealing with that here. What are your thoughts? And how come, again, sticking to the media, I guess you become our media outlet here. How do we get the media to talk about that?
Well, just back to Roxanne, you're making a lot of really good points tonight. When you were talking about the socialism and the communism and what it leads to, I saw a clip of him saying, they were asking him in a previous interview, maybe from a couple years ago, are you a centrist or are you a progressive? He's like, I'm not a centrist. I'm a progressive. I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but I just wanted to let you know. Put it out there for us all to hear. And that clip was on a news program that I was watching. And I was like, wait a minute. He told us where he stood. And it is the most left ticket our country has ever had in the history. Two people who he says he's not a centrist, he's a progressive. And I don't know really what she is, because I literally have no idea where she stands on anything, really. I'm still waiting to hear where she's at. So about the gas tax, honestly, I think some of this stuff should be illegal. I think it is illegal. I don't know how they get away with it. That's what I don't understand. And I don't know. I think, Jim, me, to your point, where are the people standing up? Where are the people who are not dead asleep? It's the whole bread and circuses thing. Everybody's in a coma. I mean, there are some people really fired up. You're fired up. We're fired up. You do see that. But most people, I think, are in a complacent mode. I do. I find that. They just sort of like keep on paying. They're entertained by, 1,500 channels on the television. Meanwhile, all the prices are up, and then there's another tax, and everyone's just like sort of tolerating it. I don't understand why it's being tolerated. I do think, and you put it to the school level, it's really not about the gas, but I think it's a similar problem. These mandates come down. We get all these things out of Sacramento that get forced upon us. At the local level, we start to feel helpless. And our little district tries to fight some of this stuff back. We try to push back on it and say, this is illegal. And I do think some of these things are actually illegal and unconstitutional. And that needs to be brought to the light, put in the light. And people don't even know what the Constitution, we actually had a Constitution Day at the school where we're handing out little pamphlets of the Constitution. People don't really know what the Constitution even says. And that would be me included. I was glad someone gave me a pamphlet.
You know Julie Himmel?
I do. Yes.
I love her here. So yes, I was going to say, you guys, Julie Himmel is also, she's a Palos Verdes school board member, and just started the California Policy Center, has now like a legal arm, because that's the thing. Too many people don't know what their rights are, and they just fold.
Yeah. I always, excuse me, ladies, the sailor in me comes out. But I always tell people, we all know how big Kim Kardashian's tush is, but we really don't know anything about who's really bending us over. And those are the politicians. So
Nice.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. Okay, I apologize to all the feminists. No, I don't.
That is
All right,
nothing.
so Jimmy,
Yeah.
you can relate to this.
Yeah, I live in like one of the most highest tax states, you know, in the nation here. We're like California 2.0 here over here. We're whatever California does, we're ready to follow suit right behind. You know, let's
Exactly.
go.
Well, he increased 40% in state spending. You have dealt with that in New York City as a or not New York City, but New York, the state.
Yeah.
How, as a constituent, how does that actually, in a serious moment, how does that affect you financially and then politically? How do we combat that?
Well, financially, we've been paying for a lot of different things, you know, up here in upstate New York that really don't matter to us at all, you know. And talk about New York City, as a city that they destroyed themselves, and so much that people and businesses are moving out all left and right, and then now it's empty, and they're like, oh man, how do we get this all back, and what do we do? And then they fill it up with a bunch of migrants that we're supposed to be helping out, and then they want us to pay for them too. So it's just, hey, what's the way to fix it? Oh, let's, you know, let's do this tax. Oh, cool, thank you very much. You know, that it really matters to me. And like I said, there's a lot of hardworking families from upstate New York, you know, and just because we're not so tightly knit together in one little city, a lot of us that, you know, have families working the 40-hour jobs, things like that, getting just, you know, pushed aside. And then they're kind of just like, well, when you bring up something like you ladies have said, same thing, you're kind of like pushing back. You're like, hey, this isn't right. And what, you know, what about this? And what about that? They're kind of like, oh, you're just, you know, you're a racist or whatever, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And you don't get it because you already have the white privilege. So you don't get that at all, and things like that. And so we're affected nonstop. Like we said, there's many things going on, and it added other, you know, charges onto other things on top of it for a city that they've just flat out destroyed themselves.
Right. You know, that's so true. I remember I was at an event, and this Democrat Latino came up to me. He's talking to me. He's showing me all this negative stuff with the Republicans. I go, talking about the wages. I said, hold on. Now do it for Obama. He gave me the strangest look. Like, that's when he realized, oh, you're not a leftist too, you know? And they make these assumptions, and they should. I'm an American first. I never cared about being Latino. I mean, I did, but it was never front and center. But I made it front and center to show the world, hey, we're not leftists. And speaking of
one quick thing, just to touch on what Roxanne and Annette had said too, same thing, that people aren't standing up. If you look back and look at our forefathers, the tax on tea and things like that, it forced them to revolt. So things that are going on now, people are just like said, complacency, which just stick them in front of their phones and all this other stuff. And there's people in this nation that fought for something not nowhere near as egregious as what they're doing now, and people are just letting it go.
Right.
It's crazy.
Can I say something to that? Because Jimmy, that's true. They gave their lives for it. And I just watched, as I was telling you, William, Victor Davis Hanson, where he said, we do not have the same people here that would storm the beaches of Normandy today. We don't have, that would not happen today. We don't have that same spirit. We don't have that same nation. We don't have those people who would gather together and fight to defend our country, like you said, speaking to you about our forefathers.
Right, and it shows with even the military. I'm sorry, William, again, just the fact that they're trying to recruit more people in the military. And they can't,
right.
You know, the military's failing right now, but their DEI initiatives with trying to get more women there and things like that still aren't working. The way they're trying to do it with the commercials, trying to get more women in it and stuff like that, they're not getting men. You know, and they need men to fight. If when it comes down to fight, all of a sudden, if this woman is elected for some god awful reason, how quick will it be when these other communist nations decide they want to declare war? And who are we going to send out to fight? I'm sorry, I think women, can do a lot of different things, but when say it goes to hand-to-hand combat, I think you see it with the Olympics right now. Oh my goodness.
That woman Algerian boxer is pretty tough.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, when I served, I was involved in the cat and mouse game. I was on a spook ship. Before y'all call me a racist, a spook ship is an intel gathering ship. And my life was in danger one time. Outside of that, it was a beer and women, to be fully honest. But in that moment, we all knew we could die, or actually being captured was what was more on our minds than dying. I joked to my guy, I chuckled in a dead serious, dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. He's like, And he whispers, dude, what's so funny? And we were off the coast of Nicaragua. I go, well, I speak Spanish. They're going to need translators. I'm safe for a while. You know? And they all looked at me
Oh,
like,
man.
it's what, but my point is when you serve, you do know there's that chance that your life is on the line. And what people, they think it's TV, and it's not. The Navy, their gear at best is only 80% working because of maintenance, the salt. SEALs some years ago were I forget the term, were the gathering parts from other rifles to maintain their own. So it's not like we have this military that can just at the drop of a hat go in and take over. God bless our Air Force, because they tend to lay it out. But even our weapons, I mean, we ran out of bullets, just a few years ago. So it's, don't assume, America, that we can just at the drop of a button go in and solve the world's problems, because there has never been a nation that has their advisors said, oh, we'll take care of this in 18 months. Next thing you know, in Afghanistan, 20 years later. So these predicaments, and somebody like Tim Walz, who will appease, and then when it's too late, finally send troops in, it's just going to bog us down and kill more people. So let's move on to Tim Walz and the aliens, illegal aliens. And that's what I call them. And I'm a Latino, but I believe in the America that you go on the plane when the stewardess says, you parent, put on that gas, that air, the oxygen, that gas, the oxygen mask on first, because if you don't, you may not be alive to save your child. That's how I view America. We need to take care of those hurting in this country, whether it's via our education and what we're delivering after high school to the homeless on the street. But we're putting illegals ahead. So, for example, here in California too, and in Minnesota, they can go to college for free off our dime. Just real quick, give me a comment or two, each of you, on what your thoughts are. It's not just Tim Walz, but it's the whole Democrat Party and the illegal migration coming through. Roxanne, we'll start with you.
Again, as a legal immigrant to this country, the conflation of legal and illegal, what has been unburdened by what could be sorry, but the fact is that there's been a concerted effort over decades to mistake those two. And like I always say about anything DEI, if you want to believe in white supremacy, you first have to believe in Black inferiority. It's the same thing. These people who say, oh, but you're so xenophobic and right, we have to have open borders. You know what? You are a bleepity bleep xenophobic racist if you think Hispanic people are incapable, who come from south of the border, of filling out a form and go and entering in at a port of entry. That's what being a legal immigrant is. It's cheaper than paying a coyote. It's safer than paying a coyote and ending up with your stuff hanging on a rape tree outside the border wall. And it's certainly safer than drowning in the Rio Grande that you cross. So there's been a concerted effort. And again, both parties, because both parties suck, right? The political system, the elites at the top suck. But it is wrong to suggest that an open border benefits anyone, least of all the countries that are having a brain drain of people who are able-bodied, willing to work, military-aged men fleeing their country.
Right. And no, I agree. Annette, the go from there, we pay for the universities here in the States. That's a tax burden. You're involved in education. I believe in education, but I believe in education for Americans first. As a school board, being on the school board, that puts you in a tough spot, I would imagine. I mean, how do you deal with that? Or are you straight-laced to the point?
Which part of it do you mean, William? How do I deal with
Meaning, it's a sensitive topic. How do you traverse it being a school board member, where you have to be professional, dignified, have compassion, but the reality is, the bottom line, it's illegal.
I know. And I think what's happened with the way they try to portray it is they try to portray it as what you did such a great job talking about that, Roxanne. They try to portray it as that you're a heartless human being. And who wouldn't, if they were in a terrible country, want to flee to another place? Like, if I think about that myself, like, what if I was in a situation? I think to myself about the United States. What if the United States gets so bad that I would want to go? Would a country that I would want to go to accept me? And what would that be like? But the whole thing is what you said about, it's just about being legal. It's just about filling out a piece of paper. And I think I don't really understand what is true about our border. But if you listen to what people are saying about the border, we've had so many people go through, millions of people go through who are undocumented and who they know they have even found some of them to have very bad intentions for the United States of America. And a lot of them are already playing out to some of those bad intentions. And a lot of them, and if you look at how it's playing out in Europe, that is an enormous problem. We see what's happening in Europe. You mentioned it earlier, Roxanne, about what's happening in England and the riots that are happening right now in England. And I feel like it's almost, I hate to say it, too late for them. They've had, they've had such a loose border. Europe is a completely different place. People that I know loved going to Paris. People that I know loved going there say they cannot go there. They say it is a completely different place now. And I think that England, people who live there and have, people that are now moved here. So obviously that's a problem. In education and public education, I am at a small district, and I'll be honest with you, because it's Rancho Santa Fe, I think I'm not met with a lot of that. I just don't think that we've seen a lot of it. We have, however, seen the thing that I can relate to the best. We've had people who are not living in the district and they try to go to the school. Then we find out that it's not the right. And so I guess you could say it like this. Maybe they're living on someone's property, or maybe they're saying that they live there, but they don't really live there. And so we have to go check that out. And there have been people who have come to the school and they have pleaded with us to please bend that rule and let them go. They want their kids in a good district. They want their kids in a safe school.
Right.
And we have said no each and every single time, regardless of the circumstances. And it is sort of that fine line. Once you open up that door, then what does it mean? It's a very slippery slope, because I do have a soft heart. I grew up in South Side of Chicago. I grew up in a tough neighborhood. I worked really hard for my education. I want to give everybody a chance. I think that you do too. I think that we all do. But there's just a proper way of doing these things. And so you have to make that, you can't be ambiguous about it. I think that's part of it. Very clear.
And that's a hold on one second, Jimmy. That's a ongoing problem, because they want to just go to a better school where they know their kids are going to be educated. I was a teacher's aide in National City. For those who do not know National City, it's a very low income city, very heavily brown, and half the class did not speak English, and the English speaking kids the teacher couldn't move the class forward because one half had to maintain with them. One day I'm sitting there, it's break, and this girl just zonked out. She couldn't stay awake. And I'm like, Chiquita, what's the matter? Oh, I didn't get to sleep last night. I go, well, what happened? Well, we had to sleep on the floor. I'm like, the floor? There was a shooting in our neighborhood, and we heard bullets, and my dad makes us all get on the floor to sleep, and it's hard, and that was a wake-up call and a slap to my face as to the whole convoluted problems that we have in these lower incomes. And that's why, for people who don't know, Rancho Santa Fe and Bonzo, those two areas are most prestigious and financial. The Michael Jacksons, Janet Jacksons, Pete Roselle's live in Rancho Santa Fe, beautiful area, and I drive through it. But my point is you're absolutely right. These people that you all have to toss out, they just want a better education, and it's sad because that education should be able to be gained at any public school, and that's another topic we won't get into. Jimmy, from you, as I said earlier, you are a blue collar man. You work hard, you pay your taxes. You get illegals who come in, they say, hey, they're doing a great benefit, they're paying a lot in taxes. That's not really true. Most of their money gets sent back home. Two, they come in and they immediately drop the wages for everybody. Oh, Americans don't want those jobs. Well, they don't want those jobs when American wage with citizens, it would cost, say, $12 an hour for X job. But with an illegal, they're paying $4 an hour. How have you seen that impact you directly?
Yeah. And what's part of it though, too, sadly enough, like we talk about, the entitlement of a lot of kids these days, or just the youth, or even people, the way they are. I see it at my job. We're trying, because like we said, the economy's hit hard. The people are hiring. We're hiring. But when you get somebody that wants to be on their phone nonstop or whatever, and not even have a really good work ethic, a lot of these companies, they turn to some of these illegals like, I got to pay cheaper. These guys do want to work, some of them, you know, and just I'll do that because they work harder than some people that are actually here that want to, because we get people that snub their nose at whatever we want to offer, and they are demanding $25 an hour. You're like, do you have any experience? No. Well, why should I then? You know, that's part of it. But then again, we go back to the immigration part. When this nation was started again, sorry to go back to that, but I'm a big history buff. These guys escaped persecution to start a new life, to start a new nation, and work hard. And they showed you that ethic. And that's the thing. They wanted to put that in there. And that's what it is to be American. And that's what we've lost. The whole thing about working hard to get what you want, and you earn everything that you have. And these people from the border that they just let in, that decide to, you know, go over illegally, they're still thinking, oh, the place is paved with golden roads and this, and I'm just going to kind of do this, and I jump right in, I get all these benefits. And they're even complaining about being held in a certain area. Certain hotels don't meet their criteria of cleanliness. I even heard, oh, well, I'm, you know, from Costa Rica or whatever, and they don't have enough Costa Rican food that fits my family and what we usually eat. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you want? You want us to make 5-course meals for you? What can we do? Can we fluff your pillow every day? I mean, and then again, for us to pay the school taxes on it and things like that. And like Annette had said, we see this all the time too. I recently moved from, an area where, again, it's highly state funded and things like that too. And now to, you know, a better area, you know, Niskayuna, like William knows, really class, you know, A school and things like that. And the teacher, you know, level is different, things like that. You just see things differently, the way they teach and things like that. And the criteria even that they're selling, even though some of it still is highly suspect. And when you have to pay your taxes and you're paying these schools, you know, for this, and they're teaching the criteria that they want to push. We've seen this in school boards around here, in school meetings, to where some of the books they're pushing and things like that, and some of that liberal stuff, over sexualizing, you know, children, I think is ridiculous. And then it's on our taxpayer money. Like, I don't think so.
Right. You know, this goes back to what Annette said about the complacency of Americans. You know, I remember hiring people at a nonprofit, and the wages they were asking, and they were comparing. One young woman sat there and said, well, my friend earns this much. I said, well, what does your friend do? It turns out his friend was in pharmaceutical sales, and he was earning a 6-figure salary because of the bonuses and all that, and he was working it. And she wants to come into a nonprofit job demanding the such. So we get complacent with that. But it's also too, when I used to be a kid, when I was a kid and I complained about something, my mom slapped me in the back of the head. You got cousins, you got relatives who are struggling and suffering. And it's funny how the illegals come in and they see the racket. And so they start demanding more and more. And the progressivism, they want to give it to them at the cost of the taxpayers. It's an ugly situation all the way around. But at the end of the day, you got to take care of America first. And you got to be within your budget. These cities are going bankrupt, and that means higher taxes for the people. And then, you know, those city politicians are going to convince the politicians in Sacramento, or in your case, Jimmy, in Albany, you know, to jack up the taxes for everybody. Albany, to jack up the prices for everybody. Looks like we lost Roxanne. So Annette, you sounded like you wanted to say something.
No, I was just going to say education. I mean, we could have an entire show on that topic alone, because we are teaching kids what to think instead of how to think. We should be sharpening the mind, exercising the mind, so they can use critical thinking and they can learn how to think, and they can have critical thinking. They can apply that in their lives, and they can read all kinds of different materials, and they can discern from those different things that they read. But instead, we want to tell them what to think. And so that's been going on for a really long time. I see it as a massive problem where the kids really aren't that sharp. They don't have good discernment. It's just more like, please tell me what to do. Tell me what to think. I'm so glad you're back.
Oh my God, that was terrifying.
Okay, so real quick, I wasn't paying attention. We had a comment here. We got a couple comments from John Galston. Yeah, he was reiterating that Walz served as command sergeant major but retired as a master sergeant. But he also has another comment, and I'll address it first, and then I'll get y'all's take on it. When did conservatives become in favor of price and wage fixing? Go back to the Reagan model of free markets and free trade. More people benefit with global free trade than the few select elites. I agree with that, but we're talking specifics here. And my problem with this comment here is the world is not black and white. You know, in a utopian fantasy, the free market model would be perfect. but we have to be perfect human beings for that to work. The world is gray. And when you deal with certain issues that are in gray, you got to make ugly decisions, ugly choices. The problem isn't with those choices made. It's with the people implementing them and then eventually abusing it or using it for corruption or to hold on to power or to abuse their power for benefit. In this case, the Democrats are looking towards the illegals that eventually become citizens, and not even citizens, as they're trying to get them registered now to be able to vote. So the world's just not black and white, John. So I get you. In a perfect utopian society, I'm with you, brother. Roxanne, what's your take on John's comment there?
Sorry, I lost internet there for a minute. I'm agreeing with John, actually. And I think a free market system was designed for imperfect people. That's the point. If you had perfect people, socialism would work, right? And so that really doesn't work. But what I was going to say before the NSA cut me out is we have to be, as conservatives, so careful to not accept the premise of the language of the left. And make no mistake, they are the radical left. They say progressive, which is really regressive. It is radical, the ideas that they are promoting. Someone is not unhoused or homeless. Both of those things suggest the solution is to give them a home. Someone is not undocumented, suggests the solution is to just give them documents. Pronouns are not no big deal that don't cost us anything to use. The end result of that is people with XY chromosomes beating the crap out of a woman's face in a boxing ring. So I'll go back to illegal immigration. To me, that is the root of so much evil, especially, again, as someone who came here legally. There is no pathway to home ownership if you break into my house. Even if you break into my house and clean it, which I could use, or paint it, or wash the windows. No matter how nice you are, there should not be a pathway to home ownership. And when I was a green card holder, by the way, they call it a green card, it's actually pink. It was very clear that anything you do puts you back of you are deportable, which is why this bull poopy idea that immigrants, commit fewer crimes than American citizens. Of course, okay. Yeah. The fact is, legal immigrants commit fewer crimes because our asses will go back to our countries of origin unceremoniously if we do. Illegal immigrants have already committed a crime the moment they stepped onto American soil, not going through the proper channels. And when people say sanctuary city, that's another language we shouldn't take it, like, oh, that sounds great. It's not for grandmas and
oh, looks like we lost Roxanne
we might have lost
again.
her again.
Okay, so Roxanne.
Oh, there she is.
There you go. Okay, so Roxanne's take is much better than my take, John, even though I stand by my take. But real quick, regarding the you're right, people here on visas or whatnot, you screw up, you go back. My cousin broke my heart. I got a phone call while I'm the highway. I won't get into the details, but in essence, they were looking to me to help with the lawyer fees, this, that. He screwed up. They told him, just don't even worry about your court date. You're guilty. They're going to send you back home regardless. Just go back home now. I mean, that way you don't have to deal with the court costs, prison time, etc. He can never come back here because he screwed up and broke the law. Yeah, as Roxanne said, we're allowing illegals. The moment they step in, they're breaking the law. And people people want to put, oh, you got to be compassionate. I'm like, we can't house the world here in this country. Annette, your take on this?
Oh, we can't house the world here? Absolutely not. Right. I see what you're saying about the compassion piece. I actually want to answer that with a question that, as always, as someone who is conservative, and this is a troubling subject matter that I wonder about. Why? Why do they think it's a good idea? What am I missing? We've seen how bad it's played out. And we've seen that it has been like a problem with crime. We've seen the areas where people have taken advantage. We've seen the problem with healthcare. We didn't even talk about the problem with undocumented people and illegal people in the healthcare system. It's literally burdening the healthcare system. It's making it impossible. Healthcare, I think, it's worse in the state of California than I've ever seen it in the last 10 years. So I'm curious, how come I, as a person who tries to think about the reason why somebody thinks this is a good idea, why? I'd like to know that from my panel. What do you guys think? What's the reason why they They are allowing this. Why?
Okay, Jimmy, what's your
Information.
answer?
Well,
There you
Because they,
go.
well, right now,
Annette's
because
taking
they
over.
just, it's because they hate Donald Trump right now. So they're just like, whatever these guys say, well, I'm good with that. Just because we don't like this guy. So he can't win. He can't get any of that. But they're also playing on the whole feelings. This whole thing is built on feelings. The transgender stuff,
I don't think that
the
the Democratic
pronouns, I
Party
think.
cares about people. Wait, Jimmy, I don't think that the Democratic Party cares about people at all.
No, they don't. They don't. But I'm saying some of the people that follow along with them, it's what they want to kind of play out. That's like, again, it's about, well, what about their feelings? Well, you can't do that and this and this and what. And I'm like, what do you mean? You know what I mean? I'm trying to think logical. Like when we talk on our side, we're talking about policy. We're talking about, facts and things like that. But them, it's feelings and like, a different thing that doesn't even exist. This thing that they pass around on memes and all this other stuff that just masks over something. And when you go to talk to one of these people on the other side, they can't give you a straight answer because they don't know. They don't know, but they'll follow. They call us sheep, but they'll follow them aimlessly off of something that they don't even know.
Right. It boils down to what you were saying, Jimmy. Annette, what he was saying is they don't care about these people. It's about I hate Donald Trump. So whatever our side says, if it's against Trump, they're for it. We see that on both sides at times, but I think we become so ideological. We use these people as pawns in the political war. Roxanne, the last word on this, and we're going to keep moving on.
She might be frozen again. She might be frozen again.
Okay, Roxanne's giving us her Kamala Harris look there.
I was going to say, but I'm glad you did.
Okay, so real quick.
Oh, there we go.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What happened? This has been happening. George Bush was Hitler.
Okay.
Mitt Romney with the perfect hair and milk was Hitler. So they've been trying to destroy the United States of America for decades.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just removed her only because we couldn't understand.
Right.
No,
John,
she did say they've been trying to destroy the United States for decades, and I think she's right about that. And this is one of the things that they're doing to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, even too on the point that again, they're just saying, what do they instantly go to? Our country was built on this, on immigration and all stuff like that. And they're like, and that's what people are like, yeah, that's right. And it's not real.
Excuse me, Roxanne, we're really struggling to hear you. You're broken up. Can you check out your connection there, or maybe reboot, and then we'll pop you back into the room? Is that possible? You're just frozen and talking and there you go. I mean, so I'm going to pull you down just for a second. I'm so sorry. Don't hit me next time you see me. But can you double check your connection there because you're really frozen? I'm going to ask John if you can sit there and see help out and figure out. So real quick, on the Second Amendment, just to let the audience know, he went from a grade A 25 years ago to a grade F. So that's going to be like chum to a shark for the conservatives to take out. But what I want to do is talk about Annette, the clean energy. He wants 100% carbon free by 2040. That's just not possible. I mean, in California, we're struggling with not enough plugins for the electric cars, and these leftist politicians are demanding this. What's your take on this?
My take on it is that nobody thinks it's a good idea. I think everyone is actually completely panicked about the grid. I think everybody thinks that all of this move to electric energy is not sustainable. And I think that what is also happening is when you talk to like SDG&E and things like I know people who worked at Sempra Energy, and they have these companies that make investments, sometimes bad investments, and it always comes back to the taxpayers. We always have to have rising electric bills because they made there is no such thing for these companies to have bad investments. Isn't that a strange thing? Now the market,
Mm-hmm.
I know we're in the market, it can go up and it can go down. You can make money and you can lose money. But these companies, like these energy companies, they can never lose money. And so I think that always comes on to the taxpayers. I think that no one thinks that it's a good idea to not be using nuclear energy. which is actually, in my opinion, everyone that I've talked to that I respect, my uncle is a rocket engineer, says it's one of the best alternatives we could have for energy is nuclear energy. It's clean. It's very safe. I know that occasionally things happen, but I think that this move toward everything being electric is a disaster about to happen. I think it's completely unsustainable. And I think it's also unnecessary. And I also think it's based on a lot of lies and false facts and a skewed attempt at manufacturing data. I mean,
Right.
I've listened to a lot of people talk about the climate. There's a lot of differences of opinion talking about the climate and what's necessary, that it's really not as hot as they're trying to make it out to be, and all of these things that they're trying to do to correct it and basically control it, because I think they want to just control us. So they have everyone in fear, using our fear. Oh my gosh, we're using all these energy problems that are happening. And if we all contribute, it's all going to be a little bit better, and it's all for the greater good. Lies on top of lies. None of it is really real. And it's all used, in my opinion, to subjugate the people. And then we always pay for their bad investments along the way.
So Jimmy, most people don't realize this, but coal is the fastest way for any third world country to begin to rise above poverty and the catch up with us first worlders. Now, by forcing all of this on us, the Paris Climate Treaty, you know, these ludicrous laws, you live in upstate. I mean, you can just see. Are you guys ready to make even a quarter of these changes? I mean, even though this is Minnesota, this 100% carbon free by 2040, like in California. I think we have an edict of being all electric cars for like 2035 or something of that nature. And I'm sure New York has similar laws. What's your take on it, living upstate?
Yeah, like I said, here we come. With California 2.0. Here it is. It's coming through. And already, I have a brother-in-law that runs a CDTA, bus location, stuff like that. They've ushered in, because of also the government giving them grants to get the new buses, and they're expensive and they break down constantly. He's telling me so many times how many times they're breaking down, and then the parts to replace them. And we've seen what happens with the batteries when they melt down. They've done tests that when these, like in an accident, if the time it takes to evacuate a bus, a car is enough, but a bus full of people, when this battery melts down and starts on fire, it is seconds, not a minute, under a minute. It's like 30 seconds. You have to get out of there, or else that thing's engulfed. And so if you have a bus full of people, it's very dangerous. Secondly, everything that Hochul's trying to do is turn everything electric. Pretty soon, they're trying to. I have a natural gas in my house, right? I'm half electric, half natural gas. I cook and everything with natural gas. All the other cooling and stuff, all electric. Anybody that makes a new house or builds a new house or things like that cannot have natural gas or whatever.
Right.
I can for a short time, but coming in a few years, they are going to come and they have to eliminate my natural gas and turn over to electric somehow. They're going to stop it all. So I'm going to have to be forced to get electric again. So like Annette had said, this is what they're doing. They're forcing everything on it, and it's going to destroy grids and things like that. Because what are you going to do when you have cars on electric? You have your gas, your stoves and things like that. Now everything is all electric. So now the grid is going to be very pushed when you're pushing everybody on it. And what do you do when the storms we've been getting lately, especially up here, we've had like from the hurricanes, serious windstorms and stuff like that, and power outage all over the place. What do people do when a power outage goes on? They pop up a generator. Yeah. What do you do? You know what I'm saying? And the way people, because they're addicted to the internet and all these other different apps, they can't freaking out when they can't have it and they're without power. Well, oh my God, like she says with the students and stuff like that, where they have to do every assignment on the internet and not even a written book report or anything like that. It's make some Google slides and tell another trailer about it and a story, So what are they going to do when they don't have the internet or even electric for so long and have to go outside and play or do something, And it's just taxing on everybody.
But why don't they have to prove it? Why don't they have to prove it that this is the better alternative? But they don't have to. They force us to have everything, like you said, an electric stove and to use only electricity. How do we know? Why are they allowed to tell us that is the better way? There is no data that supports that whatsoever. That's just them trying to use their fear tactics to control and subjugate our population. So we are beholden to them. I think it makes us very desperate people. I really do.
Right. And they tell us that, that we can save the planet, but the biggest, producers of toxicity to the planet is China and India, where all those laws don't come in play.
At
So
all.
they're the major polluter.
And okay, so let's get to
Sorry.
Roxanne while we have her. Roxanne, I'm so sorry to see you coming in and out. What Jimmy just sat there said was a story. We live here in California, not enough power on the grid. You're in the LA area. You know, I'm like Jimmy. I live in the rural area. Jimmy, I'm the exact same setup, propane, electricity, you know, and they want to phase the natural gas, which is one of our most abundant forms of energy that we can be a self-sustaining country. Roxanne, how are they going to get all these EV plug-in units in the city? There's not enough room as it is, much less the cost, the lack of grid. I mean, what are your thoughts that you would tell a fellow or somebody who's on the left as to why this can't happen?
Well, the EV is running my laptop, so you can see how it doesn't work.
Oh, wow.
It is not. It is that is
Oh,
just
man.
a disaster of having a family full. I laughed when Annette said she had been on the trading floor and then had 5 daughters, because I know which one is harder and louder. So I feel your pain. Quickly before I disappear again, I think we have to focus on the opportunities for conversion and conversation, because they've convinced an entire generation of people that God is bad and the climate is the God that everyone should have. And while it would be nice to think that we are all fact-based and we make our opinions based on white papers and they do it based on emotions, the fact is everybody does it based on emotions. We are human beings and we emote ourselves into all sorts of things. And so we don't need to make people wrong in order to have them notice things. Like, I think what we all have in common here, whether you live in California, you live in New York, we all live what I call hashtag behind the blue curtain. We are in guerrilla warfare. We're really the resistance, and we're seeing people put into place things that will destroy the country, because they're destroying our beautiful states and what were our amazing cities. And we have to get our fellow citizens, first of all, to stop telling us to move, because we're not, like, it's coming for you. The EV standards, the gas standards from California, Jimmy knows they come for him in New York. When they make equity framework for education, guess what? Textbook publishers print one set of books. They're California compliant, and your kid in Nebraska is going to learn all about the queerness of the Continental Army, right? So stop pretending that it's not coming for you. So how do we get people to nod along? We do things like this. Oh, it's backwards. Can you read it that
No,
way?
we can read
No,
it.
that's good. Yeah, that's good.
It says, flip it. It says, so what we're doing, like in LA, we have a Got Public Safety campaign. You want someone to go, oh yeah, you're right. You know, to say to them, gosh, isn't it crazy that Pete Buttigieg spent a couple $2 billion and only made 3 charging stations? What are they going to do with what you said about how long you have to evacuate an electric bus? That'll blow someone's mind whose kid takes a school bus. Like, give them a way to go, and come to a conclusion themselves. If I nag my husband to take out the garbage, he's going to hate me even more. But if I'm like, hey, is it Tuesday? Then it lets him come to the, like, oh, it's Tuesday. Oh, shit, the garbage, right? So you have to remember, I want to leave everybody, before I get booted off again, on a positive. Like, actually, America is still there. The idea that the country, when I emigrated to this country, it was 1976. It was the Jimmy Carter malaise. Like, it was not good. And we still have at our core a group of people who aren't signing up for the military because they know what hell lies ahead with Kamala /Biden /Obama presidency. But we're still here, and we have to activate people, and they're too busy and tired and busting their asses to try and afford electricity and gas. So think of how we can be of service to them, and just give them little nuggets and give them permission to say, like, it's not cool for a male, someone with XY chromosomes, to beat up on women. Is it?
No, not at all. And if my take with all of this is, California in the golden days, as California went, the country went. Well, I think California is a model of how not to do it with all our blackouts, all our wildfires, all of that. So I made a decision. We'll cover the Newsom homelessness another day because I want to, because I want to cover the other two topics. I grew up with three sisters, a mother, and an aunt, and I'm Latino. You ladies have lived up to the Latino female creed. Thank you. I'm kidding. Jimmy too. We all have. I have no shame. I have no shame. Everything is. I laugh at everything. So don't take it the wrong way. So real quick. Roxanne, I want to wait for your as a woman, as a black woman. I want to get your take last on this. But the George Floyd riots are coming back in the news because of Tim Walz and how he handled that. So my producer's saying you guys got to be quicker. So Jimmy, give me your thoughts on. Don't be sorry. He just wants to keep the show moving along. What's your take on the how he handled it? I look at it from this perspective. Black businesses, Latino businesses, and white working class businesses were destroyed, never to be rebuilt because he wasted time in getting the National Guard out there. And if you talk to these minority people, including the working class whites there who had businesses, that's the take you'll get. And how he demeaned the National Guard, his own people that he claims have been a good leader for. Oh, why should I call them? They're just cooks, you know. But give me your quick take on that. Then we'll move to Annette, and then I want Roxanne's take last there.
Yeah, quick take again. It was first with the mayor. The mayor gets the message from the chief. Then he goes and asks Walz, here we go. We need help. They're asking for help. Delays way too long. And as cities burn, like you said, and when he finally does get everybody together, the National Guard, including police, they just go and protect the federal buildings and things that he cares about, and just leaves the people to burn. They're like, we'll just make sure these are protected. Forget the other ones.
As a Panamanian who saw riots during Noriega's time right before the invasion, that burned me up. It to me, it wasn't ideological. It was, these are working class people. People assume when you're a business person, you're rich. It's the most ignorant belief that I see out there. Some of these businesses are startups trying to work, going check to check. Lives destroyed. Annette, your take on well, first, Annette, give me your take on that, but also how should the Republican Party handle this? Because it's a touchy, sensitive issue that can be turned on us quickly just because of how Democrats and the media will phrase it.
Yeah, I think right behind the lack of integrity he showed by lying about his service, this is a very, very close second in terms of how I've come to view him as a man, because actions speak louder than words. So quite simply, he doesn't care. The very people that he professes to care about and be protecting, the very people that I think maybe might be a big part of his base, he actually showed through his actions that he didn't care at all, and he let it burn. I don't know how he could even answer to or respond to that and then try to backpedal it and prove to me that he actually has a different feeling about it. I don't think that he cares. I think that's already been proven. And so I think how that we handle it as Republicans, you always have to handle these things, I think, really delicately. Politics at that level is, wow. We really need to talk about that because it needs to get a lot better. We need to get a lot better people up in those offices. We really do. We need to get people with integrity and honesty. And we've got to start to believe that some of them actually care about something beside lining their own pocketbooks and power. It's all greed and power, greed and power, greed and power, all the way down. Like, where are the people that actually would be like, but I guess someone like Mother Teresa would never be in power. But honestly, I'm looking for someone who actually is charitable toward other human beings and can also use discernment and make wise decisions and for America. But I think he showed his true colors there. I think he's a man who lacks integrity, and I think he's a man who lacks vision, and I think he didn't care about his own people.
Right. Roxanne, as a Black woman, and I apologize for putting you on the spot, but I think it's important we hear both just your thoughts as well as a perspective from that angle. How would you advise the Republican Party to handle this? Because the media can turn anything and make it sound and seem racist. What would you say?
Governor, in the summer of 2020, the only one of your constituents who had a funeral was George Floyd. How do you defend that? Period. End of story. He
there we go.
is a complete panderer to the worst of what he calls the Black community. He is elevating a thug and someone who unfortunately died of a fentanyl overdose while in police custody as the paragon of Blackness. That's disgusting.
And with
Agreed.
that, I think we'll move on to each of you give me a comment in terms of again, we view our taxes, we view money, being lost, being squandered. 250 million was siphoned from a program he was in charge of in Minnesota during the COVID. Not to mention, we're not going to go into it, but he locked people up. He put in draconian laws like every other blue state governor did, and some red state governors who were cowards did too. But as far as it was kind of like a cha-ching, a casino, a slot machine for fraudsters. It was that easy. Roxanne, how big a point should we make about this? I think that era is an important point in terms of how the haves made a lot of money through these fraud schemes. But I don't know how we make that a political point.
I think the only point that matters is that Kamala Harris is at the top of the ticket. It's sort of irrelevant who's at the bottom, except for the fact that it just once again proves the Republican Party's pandering to anti-Semites that now run the party. I would say that both Walz and Harris showed their true colors when they bold-faced lied to the American people and said that Joe Biden was sharp as a tack behind closed doors. All the rest is fluff. It's fabulous. Attack on whatever level you can. Find any weak point. Probe every single bit of the perimeter. But they are complete, craven, disgusting acolytes of Joe Biden, all operating in service to Obama, China, and enemies of the country. Have fun,
Annette.
everybody.
Annette, what's your take overall with the pandemic? Something we should just ignore? It's in the past, or should we attack that from his legislative, or from his ability or lack of ability to govern?
I don't know if I sort of agree with what Roxanne said. I mean, Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket. I think a lot of people profiteered off of COVID in the most despicable ways. Even people, I'm sorry to say, people that I know took advantage during that time as well. They just saw an opening and their greed took over. They were just smart and they were savvy in it. I don't think it was good because I think it had to do with greed, but like, oh, I see a way I can make a buck here. So that's a terrible way that it played out. It's one more thing on a laundry list of things that I think shows his lack of character. But again, it's not the top of my list.
Right, exactly. And that's my point. It seems like there's so much more that's there. And you're right. We're still we're still waiting for our mask of the $5 billion that Gavin Newsom sent to China for masks. So Jimmy, I apologize. It's not that I don't want your take, but I think the ladies are right here. Give me your take real quick before we move on to Kamala and the media and the debate.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's not the biggest thing on the debate table because, again, they're going to point fingers either way. They want to say when Trump's like, I had the best economy going on, they're like, yeah, there's so many people were out of jobs in 2020. It was terrible. And the economy was terrible. Like, oh, yeah, did you forget about the China virus? Whatever, so that's his fault. But they don't want to take any blame for that. So, you know what I'm saying? So it will go to name pointing. So like I said, the best way to get at these people is just come out with real policy, real questions, talk to them about the abortion situation. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to say they're care about human life. I want to hear you say that you care about human life, human life babies right here. Say it right now.
And,
you know what I mean? Put them on the spot where they're uncomfortable because they don't like that. They'll shy away. They don't like to be uncomfortable.
And what Jimmy's talking about is he's a supporter of literally having an abortion up to pregnancy. And I didn't put that on topic here
I know,
because I
man.
know that would have taken a big chunk of the show. So I was going to say that for another time, but Jimmy's absolutely correct. So let's move on from Tim Walz. And I knew this was going to happen because there was so much. And when I did my research, I was like, I promised that I'd have these notes. I said, hey, I'll send you some notes hours ago, but there's so much there. I was like, wow. So let's have not really fun, but some a less heavy topic here. Well, maybe not so heavy. The debate, Trump wants 3 debates. He agreed to the ABC News debate. It came out today, in fact, just a few hours ago, that Kamala Harris has agreed to the ABC debate, but has said no to the Fox debate. I think Trump got played because he wants a debater so badly. I don't think he should. He should have said there is no second debate until we do the Fox debate. Period. End of story. Well, how do we know you're going to do the Fox debate? I went on CNN and did their debate on your territory. I'll do the same here. Roxanne, do you? I think this was I don't want to say a bad move, but I don't think he should have accepted the ABC debate without getting the Fox debate first, just because I do think he's going into hostile territory. I think Stephanopoulos will blatantly lie along with the rest of those panels. I think we're going to see, I forget her name, the CNN type host, Candy Crowley, where she lied for Obama, flat out lied to him, and it came out later after the debate. So do you think Trump made a mistake by accepting the debate at ABC before demanding one with Fox?
Donald Trump read The Art of War. Come on, cut him some slack. The guy doesn't need 3 debates to wipe the floor with her. He will only need 1. I think, again, because I like the big view, all this talk about Walz, all this talk about Kamala, the joy of the campaign, Walz looks like a really sexy guy. All of that is to shore up their base. They took Joe Biden out with a shiv from Nancy Pelosi so that they could say, oh my God, we're trying to help you congressional candidates. We're trying to help you Senate candidates. They are on target to lose, okay? And to lose big. So we don't need to worry about when or Donald Trump got played. He will be fine. The fact is that, sorry, we're trying to fix the internet in here, and get things going. The fact is that, and I'll apologize to your legal department, I can't guarantee Kamala is drunk or high, but she sure acts like she's drunk or high. How about that? When I do my Kamala impersonations, which I have done on hold for Jimmy Kimmel and others, and I do on Cameo, I have to empty my brain to sound like her. So you're right. Maybe she's not actually drunk or high. Maybe she's just stupid. But the fact is, she has yet to ever be able to complete a sentence that is then backed up with facts. Ever.
Gotcha. Just to let you know, our legal department says, oh, you're fine. You're okay.
By the way, yes, figured out how to do. I figured out how to fix my.
Yeah, there you go.
So, Jimmy, in New York, you can do hashtag vote different NY. Go ahead, steal this, everybody. Let's get the blue areas to stop voting blue, no matter who.
There you go. Annette, do you think Trump made a mistake? Well, first of all, Roxanne, Trump's the one who wants 3 debates. You're right. He may need only 1 with her.
That's what he said, William. I tell my husband I need $1,000 for something so I can get 100.
You hear that? All right. So, Miss Annette, what do you think?
I do. I'm just Roxanne, I'm so glad I haven't met you guys tonight. I mean, I'm just agreeing with you on that. Yeah, I think he's going to be, I'm glad they're getting a debate at all. She has not been answered, and we haven't really seen, I would love to know. We haven't seen her answer any serious questions whatsoever. And they're already giving her so much that it's nauseating on a daily basis. This is a person who performed so poorly in those primaries. Do we not recall that? I mean, it was not all that long ago. She could not, I mean, she just, and I heard, I mean, I read and then heard people comment on it that her campaign was so poorly run when she was running in the primaries, and that she was horrible to her staff. And so all kinds of things that I dislike about this woman anyway. So when I hear my 24-year-old daughter and her friends in New York say to me, they wanted to have a real conversation with me about Kamala Harris. And they said, okay, Mrs. Ross, Mom, but don't you think she's just a great example for girls our age? I go, girls.
Yeah,
No,
don't
I
ask the
don't.
sailor that
Because
question.
I thought you girls, these are girls who are unlike me, sort of a traditional mom, right? Love children, love being a wife and a mother. It's my greatest honor. But girls, I'm like, you guys are the feminists, right? The feminists who wouldn't believe that maybe having someone who you are having a relationship with outside of marriage promotes you into your positions or hand selects you for those positions based on that relationship. Isn't that the worst way to get any job? I mean, that is the opposite of what all of you girls believe. I mean, I had these girls listening to me, and I appreciate that they give me a chance to have my voice because I think they know where I stand on that. But I was so shocked. I'm like, something with some of these kids is working. I don't think, however, a lot of them have told me they don't actually vote. Like they like her, but they don't vote. So I'm like, okay, well, it's only going to matter if you go to the polls. But I think that they're buying into something about her being a woman and appearing that she can like do this job. And it's no time for a woman to be president. I said, yes, it is. It's time for the right woman to be president, though, not this woman. So I'm listening. So you said that about the debate. I think it's at high time. I wish it was happening tomorrow. I think people need to hear her answer these questions. Yeah, they're gonna. If it's ABC, they're definitely gonna lean. They're gonna do all the things that they always do to manipulate and to make him look not as good. I mean, I can't believe they can get away with that, but they can, and they do. So that's going to be more the same. But I think he's going to be able to talk about the lack of policy, how progressive they are, how extreme they are. And I think there's going to be a lot to say about that. And I forgot to say something about Tim that is really important. I just want to say that. Another thing that seems to be seduce some people about him is that he was a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And what makes me upset about that is people don't know what's happened with teaching is the unions have destroyed the vocation. Because I do see teaching as a vocation. They've destroyed it because you cannot get rid of a horrible teacher. You literally have to tolerate it. They literally almost have to, unfortunately, almost like kill somebody in the classroom for you to get rid of them. So that needs to be talked about. I don't know what kind of a teacher he was, but I know that was like a soft point for some of my daughter's friends. But like, Mom, he was a teacher. I'm like, well, there are some great teachers still. There are some amazing teachers, but let's talk about how you can stay a teacher in that job forever now and be the worst teacher, the laziest.
Right.
Yeah, that's part of it. But anyway, so
there are.
Trump
Go ahead. Would you find a comment?
Trump will do a great job. I have no doubt. Full faith in him.
Just to let the audience know, there are, I don't want to say thousands, but I know hundreds of teachers in limbo in New York City because they've been brought up on charges on this or that, everything from molesting to harassing to stealing to whatever. And the union's so strong, they're like in rubber rooms, they call it, where they just sit there and go to work every day for years collecting a paycheck because they can't get fired, but they can't really go back. The union's not dumb. They can't put it back in the classroom. So Jimmy, this is how I feel right now. I feel like this after talking to these ladies, like I'm in a minority. I feel like I'm Robin here. Bam.
Oh, boom. Slap. What the 5 fingers say to the face?
Yeah, because I really think Trump should not have agreed to the debate. Are you going to help a brother out, or are you going to hang with the ladies on this one?
No, I'm not going to agree with you. I think I'm sorry, but just he has shown that he don't care. He walks to the fire, and this is what a leader does. They don't run and hide. They run to the fire. Where is it? Where's the front lines? I'm running to the front. I'm guiding. I am leading. These people, I need to win them over. Let's go to them. He goes to a black media group, a station, goes ahead, talks to them. They instantly attack him. Not even say, hey, thank you for joining us, Mr. Trump. It's a pleasure to have you here. They just go like, seeing you don't do this, and you're a blatant racist. What do you think about this and that? And he's just like, first of all, you're rude. You didn't say thank you for having me or anything like that. So he treats everybody the same. And for some reason, people still have a problem with that. Like, oh my God. See, they will get the opposite way. Like, this guy must be racist because, he talked to them that way. How dare you? Oh, I'm sorry. How about I demand some, be nice to me a little bit, some, respect. I give you mutual respect for coming on. And he treats everybody the same. And that's the thing that he's always preached. He's always been that same person about that. If people can say what they want about him and this and that and the other thing, he'll treat everybody the same. He'll run to the fire. He don't care. He will out debate her because just like Roxanne said, she's going to open her mouth and it's going to be, I love the meme out there with the Joey Tribbiani thing with the friends and everything, he does the poem. That's exactly what she does. She says the first frame over the sentence and then uses those same words in that sentence and says it in a different way back that. And then she like looks at you like, Like, I just nailed that. Drop the mic. You guys think about that for a second. And you're like, I did. And there's nothing to think about. There's no sense there. So,
You're like,
William,
if
did
it's not,
you
yeah,
think
if it's
Trump
not
made a
written,
mistake?
yes, I
it'd be
had
like
to
a
put it.
Superman
Do you
moment.
think Trump made a mistake accepting the Biden debate? And
No,
accepting all
Yes,
those terms?
originally I did, but I knew there was a caveat. You're right. I still stick by my guns and think he should have said the Fox debate first, but I was wrong. The problem is when I took a step back, I'm like, damn, he got played again. He destroyed Biden so well, so easily. Did the Democrats plan on that because they had the debate so early that he would destroy him? And whoop, we can't get Biden out any other way. Trump did the job for us. So I just view the Republican Party as there's a term, and it's not the sexual term, but a political term is a progressive who is spineless. They call that a cuck as well, and that's what I view the Republican Party. So I saw this as bad advice, but he destroyed Biden, and Kamala is so incompetent, and you know, people are going to accuse me, you're saying that she's a woman. No, because over the decades, she proved herself to be incompetent. She was a running joke, not only in our party, but the Democrat Party years ago. But one person told me this about Kamala in 2015 at the GOP convention, after Obama had talked about her. He said, never underestimate the power of a woman who will sleep her way to the top and doesn't care that people know that, you know. But it's proven to be true. And I laughed it off. That's a guy being a guy, but she doesn't care what the world thinks about her, because, and I don't say that in good or bad way. She cares about her opportunities. They wanted an open convention with Kamala, I mean, as one of the potential candidates, so they could put in who they wanted. And she took the bull by the horns and ran with it. So whatever we say about Kamala, she's opportunistic and she knows. So I laughed at my friend and thinking, yeah, that's just a guy being a guy. But she doesn't care how the world views her. She takes that ball and runs with it. So Trump proved me wrong. I hope he proves me wrong here. And with that, I guess I'll have the last word. And ladies, I apologize. Sometimes they say they're talking to me, but that was important in the sense I blew him off. And now looking back at it, I'm like, she doesn't care about how anybody perceives her. She looks at it as opportunity, right or wrong. So the final topic for us tonight, it's about Kamala running away from the media. But to me, Kamala running away from the media isn't the real story here. And this is depressing to me because I learned this in Panama. He or she who controls the media controls the country. And I see the media as helping her of not answer questions. It's only conservatives pressing. She's not answering questions. The media is not pressing on this. They're okay. And I think by being silent, they're helping her. Roxanne, you lead us off here. Am I right or wrong? Do you think the media is helping her with her running, or do you think that's her and they are pushing back?
No, they're mostly complicit. Again, they want access. When they start to smell blood in the water, like they did with Biden, then they'll turn like a school of fish, like all, moving together in lockstep. And I wish I could say she was a really powerful, opportunistic woman who was driving the train, but this is not her. This is Obama and the entire Obama team coming in for the fourth term, as he said, operating things from the basement in his sweats. She doesn't have.
Hold on, Roxanne, just real quick. Word on the street, for lack of a better way of saying it, is that Obama did not want to endorse her, but was forced into it after she picked up the ball and kind of like set herself as a de facto nominee. So what do you have to say to that?
There's actually real money issues. So every candidate, there's a great thread on this on Twitter. Every candidate who runs for president has a Federal Elections Commission number, and that number stays with them when they run for president in 82, when they run in 2000, when they run in 2024. Someone made on her behalf, very compelling argument that the money could only go with her because she was also on the committee, but she had a separate number. She also ran for president. She has used Biden's number. There's some definite funny business going on there. I'm just saying she's not the driver. What the people we see are all tools. And that's what the entire apparatus being against Trump is about. Because Annette pointed out she would like someone with integrity, someone, a Mr. Smith goes to Washington. That's not what we think of him as, but that's what Donald Trump was. That's what he did.
Yeah.
He has lost more money by running for president than all these other people have managed to amass on their $100,000 a year congressional salaries. So their squashing of Trump is really about making sure no one else ever does that. And by the way, I know are running out of time, but they tried to kill the man less than a month ago, and the media doesn't mention it anymore. So yeah,
right,
they're in the tank for the DNC.
Annette, I have made my life and my career on reading people and body language. And when I said the comment about, I think the Democrats may have inadvertently or purposely set Trump up to take Biden out, you perked up. Did you want to say something about that before I get your take on the media and Kamala?
Well, no, you were talking about Kamala, and you were describing her. Never underestimate a woman who's willing to sleep her way to the top. Is that what you said? Is that how you said it?
Yeah, that's how it was put to me. Yeah.
I thought to myself, to me, that just sounds like she's ruthless.
Yes, exactly. That was his point.
That was the word that kept on coming. She's ruthless, and which is very deeply troubling to my soul. And I'm glad, Roxanne, that you said that you feel like Donald Trump is a Mr. Smith goes to Washington. Yes, I do think people like that exist in the world still, and I do think that Trump has taken on something that is incredibly important for this time. And I do think he's changed a lot as a man, I think, in this process, which I think has been a good thing. I mean, I guess when I was younger and he was younger, I didn't have the same respect for him when he first ran for president that I have for him today. So in my mind, he's evolved and grown and become a lot of what he is today, even though he was always very off the cuff, and he was very spoke his mind, which is extremely refreshing in politics. People don't do that often. I didn't like the way that he would tweet. I thought sometimes it was rude. No, I know it probably seems like, why is she saying this? That seems so. It does, to me, there should be a decorum in politics. I do think so.
Right.
I do think it doesn't help to be rude like that. I mean,
Annette, for us Latinos, you're right. For us Latinos, we look at certain positions of authority as to be carried, and I'm assuming it's for every American. We look at certain positions to be carried with some sort of grace and dignity, and I think that's what you're referring to. That those mean tweets didn't do, and I think that shows, in a way, our devolvement as a society. But what about in terms of the media here? Because you spoke up earlier at the very beginning in terms of the media and helping them. Do you think the media is helping her here in avoiding the questions by not pressing, or do you think it's just Kamala entirely here doing this?
Oh no, I think the legacy media is completely in bed with her for sure. And I think it's really something that we should all be talking about. Look what they did during COVID. Look at all the cover-ups that have happened. And those things have come out and they have been shown. I mean, they've been shown that some of the things that they were saying during COVID were absolutely and unequivocally untrue. And they kept the facade, again, speaking to you earlier, what you said, Roxanne, about the facade. They kept the facade going. And I think they affected millions of people's lives in far more reaching ways than, the unfortunate morbidities that happened during COVID. I'm not saying, God bless, people went through something horrible then too. But I think there was also a lot of lies fabricated along the way. Those kids did not need to be in masks. They were not the ones that were, spreading the virus. Those were the places where they had the highest immunity. They did not need to be getting those vaccines. I mean, they had lie upon lie. And so I think for some reason, I would love to understand and know the greater agenda that's happening here. Sometimes people speak of it and I'm like, wow, that really can't be, because I guess I'm really an optimist. But for whatever reason, they're covering for Kamala. I think what Roxanne said is true. I heard something of the same thing, that they weren't going to be able to retain all of that money if it was somebody else. Mm-hmm. It all had to do with the greed, keeping the money that was already raised. A big fortune had already been raised. And by the way, just for 1 second, this really strikes me as really gets in my chili, that Obama, a South Side guy like me, a South Side girl from Chicago, he's not living with his people right now. He's on Martha's Vineyard in some enormous estate right on the water. No, I mean, the most protected, beautiful, pristine. He's not among the people, and he is not for the people. He amassed a fortune because he has got beautiful rhetoric. You know what I mean? He is good. He is a good speaker. He is eloquent. I've got to give him that. I was all caught up, and I think it was 2008, right when he ran. I was even caught up in that. I'm like, wait a minute, Southside Chicago, for the people. This is the kind of person who can bring all kinds of people together. But he was out for himself. No, I was so severely disappointed. I cannot even tell you. And look where so he was just, I'm sorry, because I do have that part of me that just wants to believe so much. But what I love about Trump is how he's evolved. What I can't stand about the legacy media is how they lie. And actually, they're not even embarrassed that they lie. They just continue to go and they double down. They double down on their lies. It's sick. It's just when we have to talk about it in a civil and way, like Roxanne was saying, in a discourse where people we're dropping like seeds of truth that people can hold on to, empowering them in ways that make them believe that their voice really matters. So, I mean, there are ways we can like get this conversation out there, and we can grow and help people understand what's happening. Sorry, I know my little round tangent.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm just chuckling because I didn't know the south side of Chicago was in the suburbs of Hawaii, which is pretty much where he grew up with his white family. That bothered me so much, the easy acceptance, when I'm like, his whole upbringing was nothing like what you went through. But he put on the charade so good. And with the teleprompter, and I'm the same way. You give me a speech, I memorized it, I will kill it. You get me off that teleprompter or off my speech, and I am everywhere. Not because I'm a bad speaker, it's like I just digress here, and he does the same thing. So, Jimmy, we're going to give you the final take on this topic here.
All right.
The media, she's dodging the media. Do you think the media is helping her dodge the media?
Yeah, they're not asking her the tough questions. Like I told you, where's the policy questions? Well, because nobody really knows what her plan is. And she's even trying to backturn with these promos that she's doing. Donald Trump, doesn't, wants to, lock up, not lock up, free border, whatever. Now I'm going to be tough on the border all of a sudden. Where were you in the last 4 years? I'm going to do this now. When were you in the last 4 years doing any of that? Who is this person? You know what I mean? The person we've seen for her whole career, like you said, that's not you. Like we said, the woman that slept her way to the top, ruthless, like you said. And what kind of role model is that for women? Like I said, I'm not a woman. I do have a Y chromosome. So I try to relate though. Like if I am a woman, I would feel upset about that. That like, this is the role model you guys want. Like if this woman's elected as the president, this is the one. Like really? Like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? So, but the media, again, they've been gone easy. They just say, hey, what about this and this and this? And look who else, Megan Thee Stallion. And look at this, she's there. And look at this big concert that's here for her. Like, no, she bombed the concert. She like showed up and invited herself. And like, oh, hey, you beautiful people, look who I am. And look, I need blacks to relate to me because I'm black. Well, no, you're not really. And before you were out in the media saying that you were Asian, and now all of a sudden now it's cool to be black. So now you want to be black. And like I said, some of these people aren't buying in though. Because I see on social media too. Like I'm friends with Jeremiah Spicer, who is a great story. He grew up in Skid Row in LA and everything. Slept in cars while going to high school and stuff like that. Homeless, just fought to be a football player and really almost made it to the top. Tried out with the San Diego Chargers back when they were San Diego. Now they're Los Angeles. Fought for everything he had. He's labeled as an African-American, but he's actually of Indian descent or Native American descent here from a tribe around here. But because he looks black, he's African-American. And he sees through the facade. He's like, who is this? Look at this woman. And friends on his page agreeing along with him, like, we're not buying this. Like, and we've seen it in the media interview again, blacks and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about, Kamala Harris? You're going to this. And they're not buying it either. So I hope that this is most people, I'm not sure if that was just, abnormal, but I'm hoping this is the story here to fight against the media, because there are a bunch of people that do just follow whatever's fed in them in social media, because being on the football show too, like, Will, when I go through this, and we are an online show, so we started out in Facebook a while ago, and I always pitch to people that, like it or not, 30% of people's news they get from Facebook and things like that. That's pretty scary, because there's a lot of fake stuff going on there, and the stuff that is true, they shut down and block and say, we're fact checking this right now. And no, that's not, it doesn't fit our agenda.
You know, I was at a party once with he was Latino, and when I told him I was Latino, he didn't want to believe me. He said, "You're not Latino," because I didn't have the traditional brown look. And I asked him, "Where are you from?" East LA. That's what he said. I go, "Do you speak Spanish?" "No, I don't." That's all of a sudden, "No, I'm an American," you know. And I go, "Well, what part of Mexico?" I said, "I assume you're Mexico." "Yeah." I go, "What part of Mexico are you from?" "I don't know." I go, "So I was born and raised in Panama. I speak, read, and write Spanish. I know both my Puerto Rican and Panamanian heritage, but I'm the one who's not Latino because of looks." And I think we have a big problem with mixing looks and culture. But sadly, that's not a battle for us to have. That's a battle that's happening within the Black community that I believe they're the ones that are having it, and they have to come to terms with who they believe Kamala is.
But William, it's just another example of her complete inauthenticity, because there's only one race. It's the human race. I actually have one of my highlighted videos on Twitter/X is that, I'm Jamaican too. The fact is, the West African slave trade, 8% of the slaves, the Black people, the Nigerians, the West Africans came to Jamaica. Under 4% came to America, but we ceded ground on education. And so American kids think that America invented slavery when the word comes from the root is from Slav, and every culture, like the Bible, is about slavery and numbnuts, and that the world is Black, white, and Latin only. No, there's a big world out there, and the only way to stop discriminating on a kind of race is to stop discriminating on account of race. So I don't care what she is. I just know she's an idiot and a socialist.
Exactly. And you're speaking from the words of Thomas Sowell and Wilford Riley, which a plug for the Big Johns with Big Questions. He's going to interview Wilford Riley, who talks a lot about these issues. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was a hell of a show. Y'all were on fire. It's like, it was like nonstop. I pinged John. I said, I know the show's moving a little slower than what we wanted, but it's tough to find a spot to like cut in there, y'all, all three of you. So I don't know if that's kudos or my producer's gonna slap me in the head like Batman did Robin, but I don't care. All three of you were great. Real quick, Roxanne, tell us where we can find you. I know on X, and there's you, but tell us a little bit about yourself once again before we end the show here, and I'll go to the next two as well.
Just find me in Los Angeles. Again, I'm here with a bunch of other patriots speaking out to say, vote different, California, vote different, LA, vote different, New York. We can do this. And
you can find her at Roxanne Hoge, you said, or I always mispronounce it.
Roxanne Hoge, Hoge.
There you go. Miss Annette.
Well, I'm not on Twitter, so I guess I need to do that.
So you have a great book. You got a great book.
I do have a great book, Where Fairy Tales Go. My book, also running for re-election for school board. I was a little bit reluctant there, William, but I went ahead and put my name back in the race, and that should be an interesting fall for me. So,
well, we need good people, so I'm glad you did, Mr. Jimmy.
First of all, I want to say it was a pleasure meeting you, wonderful women, and it was great to relate and have other people in my circle here that we all agree on a lot of different things, and it was a pleasure. You can find me, like I said, right there, FB_no. That's our X account I have 2 football shows. I'm going to plug it real quick. Sorry, William, but Football on the No Show, Wednesday nights here on Facebook, YouTube, everywhere. So go ahead, check it out, follow, like, subscribe. And then also, I have recently joined this off season here in the football season, and excited for an up and coming season for Grumblings Media. And that is the Blindside Blitz, where you can check us out every Tuesday night at 9:00 Eastern on Grumblings Media and all their affiliates, Rumble and all that stuff, and on X.
And I would not have put that social media handle if I did not want you to plug your other
thank
shows.
you so much.
So no,
both shows are great, and they're completely different in their own way. But we definitely speak our minds, though.
And I have to tell you, three, I know once the show's over and the producer camera gets turned on, there's going to be blood everywhere because his head exploded. He's not a conservative like we are. So that head was probably like, boom,
We
boom,
love you
boom.
too.
He was
We
in my
love
corner. Now he's not
everybody.
anymore.
Big John. That's Big John. Thank you, Big John. And to everybody else, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you share the show. You can find this show at grumblingsmedia.com, as well as our social media platforms, YouTube, Rumble, Google, Apple, Spotify, y Pandora. So until next time, my friends, I am William Del Pilar, and I bid you adieu.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.